Hey guys, Matt here. Obviously, I want to go through the feedback that we received from you guys. We only received 171 responses this year, which is down almost half from previous years. So I do encourage you guys to use these feedback forms. It gives us some insight into what you're thinking and how we can do better, things that you liked, in the overall experience. So I wanted to kind of go through these responses. We'll just do the kind of the general questions first here. So this is the responses that we received from you guys, and let's go through this. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you rate it? The majority of you guys counted, in the upper percentile here. There was a couple lower ones here, and these are people that we'll probably reach out to get some more information about why they thought that this wasn't a good experience. Anything below an 8 is really not good for us. We really take these feedback forms very, very seriously. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that just because we may not reach out to you directly, we do go through every one of these responses, and they are important to us. How would you rate the organization? Most of it was positive here. Again, we've got some low ones down here. 2 people said 4. And we've done pretty well, I think, with signing, scheduling, and keeping you guys current on communication. But obviously, if we're getting some low scores here, we can do better. Was this your first time attending? The vast majority of you guys are returners, and thank you guys for your continued support. But this number right here is impressive. 36% of the people, this was their first time attending the event. That's freaking awesome. Did you feel like the vendors provided good service and products? Most of you guys said yes. A handful of people said no. And there's some good information in the feedback when we get to that about why they thought there wasn't. How are the facilities? If you've been to the event before, you kind of see the transition from just porta potties to having some kind of indoor facility to having both porta potties and indoor facility. We continue to try to bring these better to you each year. And obviously, we don't want to go backwards, so we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. Most everybody thought that it was pretty good, higher scores, but then we've got some lower scores here, and we'll get to those things. How satisfied were you with communication? Most people thought the communication was good. If you're a returning person to the event, you understand that our website is paramount for getting information about what's going on, when, etc. We also try to do a very good job of posting up the night before the next day's events. There was a big giant sign in the field showing what was going on when. But I know that the speakers and the announcements on site were not that fantastic. And I think that's what a lot of these lower scores are coming back to. Just people couldn't hear those speakers. Would you recommend the rally to other people? Most people said yes. There was a couple maybes, no nos, but 7 people thought that maybe not. And then the other questions regarding more open-ended questions, we're going to get to those in just a second. So here is our feedback forms, and I just want to go over how can we improve. What were some of the things that bothered you? And those are the things I want to focus on today. We asked you guys to be brutally honest with us, and some of you didn't hold back, so that's freaking awesome. We enjoy real criticism. Don't just blow smoke up our butts. We really want you to tell us what you think so we can do better next time. So of these responses, primarily the big thing was people were concerned about the heat. Having more shade, having some kind of beverages. And I think a lot of people didn't realize that you were encouraged to go inside and use the indoor facilities. They had air conditioning in there, there was water. You guys could have definitely gone inside if the heat was just getting to you. We did have the big tent in the field. Obviously, it did not hold, the entire rally's population. But it was a way for you to get out of the shade a little bit. I think a lot of the suggestions here regarding shade are add another tent. We have to be careful because we are limited on space, and that's another giant complaint was, we didn't have enough space for parking, etc. That is something we continue to struggle with every year as the event continues to grow. We add more sponsors, more participants. We quickly run out of space. So we're going to continue to try to improve on this, hopefully expand the facility out and get more use of the property. We are already working with the American Legion to facilitate that, and so we're hoping some big changes are on the horizon. We got contacted by the new commander, and they are definitely willing and in plans to make some facility changes, both to parking and for space. So I want to keep you guys in the loop on that. Nothing solid yet, but they are definitely working towards it and working on getting some government grants to help fund this. Obviously, we do give them a considerable donation from the event to help improve their facilities each year. And if you were here last year, you should have noticed a considerable change on the interior of the cantina, right? They've cleaned it up. It's a lot nicer in there, and they're going to continue to grow as we bring events to them. So the big thing, and I want to make sure that you guys understand, we really, really appreciate our veterans, and that's why we support the American Legion in that way, bringing the event there to help give them some donations and money, etc. So let's get into these. We already talked about the shade, using official group ride leader shirts. This was a great suggestion. I think only one of our group ride leaders actually had leader shirts. I think this is something we can definitely facilitate for next year. It is on our radar to get some group ride leader or staff event type shirts. So yeah, great suggestion. Next one is regarding group rides. Wish they could be spaced out or do more on separate days. Came from a large group out of state and we wanted to ride. We had to skip a lot of the events so we could ride. I understand. We try to pack as much as we can into those 3 days. Obviously, this rally continues to grow in size. And we did have stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the following Sunday going on. And you guys continue to ask for more stuff, more rides. And we're trying to facilitate that the best we can. Having group ride leaders that we feel have integrity and your safety in mind is paramount for us. So we continue to hunt down the right people to get those group ride leaders out there for you guys so we can facilitate those types of things for you. This is one that we actually got quite a few people mention to us. We wish there was more stuff for the ladies to do. 2 years ago, we had a group ride that was just for the ladies, and then there was an accompanying group ride for their spouses or just the men. It was called the Lad and Lass ride. The ladies left in a different route, and the men left in a different route, and they all met at the same place, had lunch together, and then rode back together. I think that's something we can bring back. We do want to make sure that we are providing, group rides that fit everybody's style and things that people are comfortable with. So we want to make sure that we are including our lady riders. You guys continue to grow in the community, and we want to make sure that we're giving you guys, that visibility and availability to be amongst your peers. Overflow parking. Parking was a huge concern this year. A lot of the feedback comes back to this. Of these feedbacks, I think there was 22 mentions of parking. This is one huge point that we are working on this year. I think we're going to have at least a couple other locations for vehicles to park within walking distance of the event. And what I mean by walking distance, we're talking like a quarter mile, right? That's one lap around a track. So not that far away. So you may have to park and walk if you're in a vehicle. Obviously, this is a riding event. We encourage you guys to be out riding, being on your bikes. So we're going to also make bike parking paramount for us as well. This is some feedback that I thought was really good. We'd like to see 2 separate merch booths, cut down on the line times. We're definitely going to try to facilitate that next year. We'll staff extra people at the merch booth. That way we've got at least 2 different lines going. and we can get you guys through that line much faster. And there's some other comments down here later about why do we wait until 4 o'clock to open up the merch line. That's something else that we're considering changing, but I will explain why we do it that way. More variety of food trucks here. Barbecue. Barbecue always seems to be the hit, and so we continue to bring that back and make sure it's one of the stops. But we will take that into consideration and make sure that we are getting you guys different options for food. Also, if you didn't know, the Cantina was doing burgers and dogs inside. I think next year they'll either do burgers and dogs, or maybe they'll change it up a little bit. But they also did breakfast inside for you guys as well. More on-site activities. Yeah, we were kind of limited on the field games this year. We only did 3, and we didn't do a very good job of announcing them. And that's nothing against Justin. Justin did a great job emceeing the event. It was on us that we didn't get out to the field and let people know that the event activities were going on. So we're going to make sure that that's something that we fix for next year, making sure that the announcements get out to everybody and the sound's traveling entirely through the event, not just from one direction. We're going to do our best to make sure that those speakers are pointed in all directions and we're loud and prompt on our announcements. More food trucks, talked about it. We kind of talked about the shade. Yep, we understand it was very hot. Hey, this is June, and June in Tennessee, it can be hot and it can be rainy. That's just the way it is. More vendors that sell products. We kind of mentioned this earlier in the video. Our vendors do bring a lot of products, but a lot of them are geared either directly towards Honda Groms or they're just merchandise. So the feedback that we give back to our vendors, we take what you guys recommend here, we send this out to our vendors so that they can give you guys some information, or they can get some information from you guys about what you would like to see. I think a lot of people were looking for parts for Ruckuses, and they were looking for parts for Kawasaki Zs. The smaller markets like your Vespas and your Zoomers and your PCXs and stuff, it's going to be a little tougher just because there's just not as many of them, and it doesn't make sense for the vendors to pack up a whole bunch of that stuff and bring them across country to be here. But you can always reach out to your vendors ahead of time and say, hey, I'm going to be at the event. Is it possible you bring XYZ parts with you? I think our vendors are all pretty damn awesome, and I think that they would work with you and help get those parts out to you guys. Speakers, like I said, this is something that comes up again and again in this feedback form. We do want to make sure that our sound system is better. Traditionally, we've had it just at one end of the field and kind of broadcasted across the field, and that has not been working as good. So I think next year what we're going to probably try to do is put our DJ in the center of the field and put 4 speakers surrounding him pointing in all directions. That way the sound is traveling across the entire event area. As far as getting things out to like the parking area and up towards the building, we'll have to figure that out. Wireless speakers don't tend to work out as well as advertised. So we'll see what we can do about that as well, but we are definitely going to improve on the broadcasting and announcement information with the speakers. Here we go. We talk about the facilities, bathrooms. If you guys didn't know, so we had 2 porta potties out back. I try to keep those away from people. I understand that maybe they need to be a little bit closer, but I cannot stand the smell of porta potties. There was one way out by the RVs, and then inside there was 2 bathrooms for women and 2 bathrooms for men. Inside for the men's bathroom, there was 2 urinals on 2 stalls, and the women's, I think there was 3 stalls maybe, and then there was also 2 other single bathrooms, one for men, one for women. So there should have been plenty of bathroom space for everybody. What is that? That's 6, 7 men's toilets and 5 women's. We should have been able to facilitate bathrooms, and maybe we didn't communicate well enough that there were bathrooms inside that were accessible. So we will do better on communication on that. And I do understand that there was maybe a time when some of the bathrooms were a little bit dirty inside. We did get some feedback from one of our vendors that the bathroom got a little trashed, and we'll try to make sure that we have somebody on staff going around and making sure that toilet paper is handled and the bathrooms are clean for you guys. But that also goes back to you guys. Don't trash the facilities, guys. Just be good people, right? Stop the rain. Yeah, we're gonna work on stopping the rain. I'll see what we can do. I think the cloud seeding people, we'll talk to them and see if they've got an anti-cloud seeding thing. So see what we can do. More riding type events, offering an escort back from the glow ride, maybe bring back racing. I am in talks to bring back drag racing, and that's going to be a whole other video, a whole other separate topic. And I think I've got something worked out that will appease all of those folks that want to drag race. More riding type events. Man, we had group rides every day except for Saturday. I'll see what we can do. If you're this person, and I know you probably did leave your name and contact information, I might reach out to you, see what you mean. But we had group rides every single day from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. There was group rides going on, or some kind of riding event, whether it was a scavenger hunt or the poker run or group rides or long group rides. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday, those were pretty much all day group rides, whether you're going to Maggie Valley or Devil's Triangle or Brushy Mountain or Wheels Through Time Museum. Those were all day riding events that were available to you guys. Excuse me. Fall Bore, more on this soon. Yeah, I don't want to speak too much on this, but something we're talking about. More centralized location. So Townsend is probably the more centralized location to everything. And so this is something that we struggle with every year, that we could take the event to another location, whether it be further on the other side of Blount County that would offer hotel rooms and proximity to the Dragon, etc. But then you're almost 2 hours away from Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. So we've got to be really careful about where we put this event. So Townsend is probably the most central location because people are either staying in Townsend, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, or Maryville. There were a couple people in Alcoa. I think there was a couple people in Knoxville. So we're really centralized to where we're at right now is pretty centralized to where everybody stays. Townsend would be a little bit more centralized. The problem with Townsend is really the city politics. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're not anti-Townsend. Trust me, we love Townsend as far as the town goes and its location and what it offers to you guys. But the politics there are kind of preventing us from bringing the rally back. And that's just something that's the reality of it. And so I understand that most of you people do stay in Townsend. We love Townsend. We love the townspeople, except for a few squeaky wheels. But trust me, we hear you guys. We're not ignoring your request to bring the event back to Townsend. It's just not that simple. I thought the Gatlinburg night ride was dangerous. Riders passing, changing positions, etc. Man, anytime you guys are on a group ride, especially one that is giant, you really run that risk. And you have to be cautious of what's going on with everybody around you. And even that one was a little bit more dangerous just because of the weather. If you are not comfortable in group rides, especially big ones, don't go. Like, really don't go, or stay in the very, very back and kind of come up behind everybody else, right? If you are not comfortable in large group rides, I repeat, do not go on them, right? I cannot control what everybody else is doing. Obviously, our community does a pretty good job of policing each other, but there are just people that don't give a damn, right? And you all know them, you all see them. You know, we're supposed to be riding staggered up through the mountains and stuff, and then you got somebody that wants to zip past or ride wheelies or stop and do burnouts on the sidewalk. Like, obviously, that's not what we want, and we try to get that out to everybody. But we can't police those people every time that we have a group ride. It's up to the community and the group ride leaders to try to fix that. But when you've got 600 people on a group ride like that, it's up to the rest of everybody else to kind of tell somebody like, hey dude, stop, or take up the back, go to the back if you want to act like a jackass, right? This is a ride meant to be fun for everybody and safe. And this is always a concern on our group rides. You know, there's a lot of liability when we do these, and so we're always very cautious about who our group ride leaders are, and we have to trust them. We have to know that they have the community and the event's best safety in mind, because we you know, one bad incident could really just end this entire event. So we want to make sure that everybody is doing the best they can on these group rides. If you're that person that feels like they need to peacock and go do wheelies and stuff in a large group ride, please go to the back. Do not do it in the middle of the group. Obviously, we would encourage you not to do it at all, but if you're that guy, just have some courtesy, get to the back. Wait for people pulling out on group rides. We were 6 minutes late and never caught up with the group. Guys, one thing that I can tell you about Tiffany and I and Lee is we are prompt. If says that it's kickstands up at noon, we are leaving at noon. Like, I cannot stress enough how being prompt and timely is important to us. So I encourage you guys to make sure that if you know something is happening at a certain time, we're going to do our very best to make sure it happens exactly at that time. So I'm sorry that you got left, but understand when we say a time, we mean that time. So I understand there's a kind of a slinky effect and you never caught up. I believe that group ride to Gatlinburg never got over 45 miles an hour, but there are some slower riders, right? So it created this like slinky effect, you know, going through some of the tighter turns and some of the hills and stuff. So that's another group ride thing that you kind of need to learn. You got to understand that when you have a large group ride like that, there is going to be a slinky effect because you've got the disparity between faster riders and slower riders, and the group getting kind of separated and having like this slingshot type event happening within the group rides. Misting fans to cool off the crowd. Maybe something we can do in the main tent. Obviously, like I said, you guys are encouraged to use the inside facilities. Make the scavenger hunt cryptic. The waypoint is boring. I will get this information back to Chase. I'm not sure that this was the majority feedback on this. I think people really enjoyed what they did this year. But I will make sure that this gets back to Chase and he hears this feedback. This was a failure on our part. I think we didn't do a very good job of announcing that the field games were going on. Again, we did put it on all of the scheduling. It was announced the day before. It was posted the morning of. You know, like I said, we tried to do a very good job about being prompt and staying on schedule. But our speakers were not very good in the field to let people know that they were going on. Kind of already talked about that. Put Mango and Elite back in the neighborhood. Steve, we love you. We'll see what we can do for you next year. More group rides, kind of already talked about this. The raffle for prizes, but the ground was brutal. Yeah, we're going to try to change how we do raffles for next year. They do take an extraordinarily long time to get through all those tickets. Or all those prizes. I think we're going to change it up a little bit next year and offer less prizes, but more quality, higher end prizes. And something that we really want to facilitate and make sure that you guys are getting quality prizes, not just, you know, wing wang or gadget or something that isn't really relevant to you. We want to make sure that we're getting stuff that is quality items that you guys are really interested in. As far as a gift bag, so if you were one of the first registrants for the bike show, they actually did get a gift bag. And there are a couple people that register for the bike show that don't actually even enter the bike show, but they register so they can get this gift bag. Need more slow rides. I have a 50cc. I can't go on 90% of the group rides. you're definitely the minority, but you know, we will do what we can to add maybe another slow ride, or like we used to do what's called the show off ride, and it was a slower paced ride. I think top speed was like 40 miles an hour, and it would go into Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, and kind of just be like a show off type ride. That might be something that we can bring back for you guys. I will definitely take that into consideration. More tents, loved everything. Yeah, hey, this goes back to what I talked about earlier, you know, being a good member of our small bore community and treating people with respect, the properties with respect, and the surrounding areas with respect. You know, whoever this is, spot on, nailed this. Like, it just takes one person to really ruin the event for everybody. And you've seen that at other events, right? There's another major event that is no longer going on because there was a small minority of people that decided to be assholes, and that event is no more because of that. So it is important that within our community we police each other, and you know, we have respect for each other. You know, just be like, hey man, just understand this isn't the place to be doing that. You know, be nice to people, be nice to the businesses and the environment, and you know, all of the people around us, man. We are the coolest freaking community of motorcyclists there is, hands down. Everybody is cool as shit. Just continue to be that. Bigger stunt lot. We'll see what we can do. I think there's something in the works at the Legion to help facilitate this. I will keep you in the loop on it. More food options. Already talked about it. More camping at the venue. Open the vendors earlier, larger venue closer to Townsend or the riding areas. Whereas pretty much as centralized as we can get without moving back to Townsend, and obviously I already explained issues with Townsend politics and where we're at there. Open the vendors earlier. This is entirely up to the vendors. So we have a hard start at 4 o'clock on Friday, right, for those vendors. That's when they can set up, and they have to be there at 4 o'clock on Friday. They are more than welcome to set up earlier than that, and our vendors are aware of that, but you got to put yourself in their shoes too. Some of them have traveled all the way across the country to be here for this event and still want to participate a little bit. So the days leading up to it and the time leading up to it, they want to get out and ride too. Man, a lot of these vendors have never been here before, so it's important to give them the opportunity to get out and ride these roads and see what East Tennessee has to offer, and what you guys are getting to enjoy. This is the opportunity for them. So I will leave it open to the vendors so that they can start earlier, and maybe we start them a few hours earlier on Friday. But I don't want to force them to not enjoy the time that they have, because some of them they pop in freaking Thursday night or Friday morning, and they're here for 2 days, and then they have to go home. You know, they just got their own time constraints. So we'll work on this. I think that there's a happy medium here, and we can get that sorted out. More days, guys. We're at 3 days already. Maybe we can pack some more stuff into Thursday. And obviously we kind of had stuff on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday leading up and following the event. So there's nothing stopping you guys from coming in earlier, enjoying it, or staying later and enjoying it. More bathrooms, more group ride leaders, a dedicated page for announcements, or crew admins. Yeah. So I don't think adding another Facebook page is a good idea, but what we are working on right now, it is already in development, is an app. And so everybody can download the app. It'll have schedule of events, need to know items, locations, addresses, etc. We're going to work on that for you guys. I think that will go a long way, but I don't want to keep adding more social media pages that, one, have to be managed. People have too many places to look. Right now, we really are driving people to go to the website and use the website for scheduling and looking for information, and getting that information out to people and telling them, go to the website, go to the website, go to the website. We tried to over communicate this, and still it missed a huge chunk of people. Always asking, when is this event, right? Everybody knows that question. Just go to the website. We already talked about the weather, talked about the tent. Sign next to the exit with group ride rules. We could probably do some kind of sign for the group ride rules, but we want to really encourage our group ride leaders to have a pre-ride meeting and let them explain what they expect of their group. But all the basics still apply, right? Our group ride leader should be using hand signals. Hopefully the people behind them also use the hand signals. We want to make sure that everybody's riding staggered, and then when we get into twistier turns, you guys are riding single file, right? It's just some common sense stuff, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to ride in a group, even if it's a smaller setting. It doesn't change a whole lot from going from 5 riders to 600 riders. All of the same principles apply, and it's important that you guys use some common sense. I think I'm going to wrap this video up for part 1, and we will move on part 2. Thanks.